The hidden illnesses science can't explain, but Buddhist wisdom always understood. Imagine this. You're sitting on the edge of an exam table. The doctor smiles politely and says everything looks fine. Your blood work is normal. Your scans are clear, but something inside you disagrees. You wake up each morning carrying an invisible weight. Your chest feels tight. Your stomach twists before hard conversations. Your back aches after family gatherings, even if no one said anything hurtful. On the outside, you seem okay. But inside, a quiet voice whispers, "I'm not okay. I'm not at peace." And here's what no one tells you. This isn't just your story. It's becoming everyone's story across the U.S. Millions of people are not battling a disease with a name. They're struggling with something far more elusive. A growing disconnect between what the body feels and what the world expects. They're told, "You're fine, just rest more." Maybe it's anxiety, but deep down their bodies are trying to say something else. No one ever taught us how to understand our body's signals. We learned to fight discomfort, to fix symptoms, to power through, but the truth, healing isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about finally listening to what's been ignored. That fatigue that won't go away, it might not be failure, it might be a request to slow down. That tension in your shoulders. Maybe it's not just stress. Maybe it's grief that never got a voice. What if your body isn't malfunctioning? But remembering, for thousands of years, monks in small Himalayan villages have lived long, peaceful lives. No hospitals. No multivitamins. No word for autoimmune. And yet, they rarely suffered chronic pain. They remained active well into old age. They carried less emotional weight. Why? Because they were never taught to fight the body. They were taught to respect it. They believed the body doesn't heal by force, it heals through stillness. Zen proverb, this isn't about throwing away modern medicine. It's about remembering an older kind of science. The kind that lives in every breath you take. That starts not with a prescription, but with presence. What about the science if you're thinking? That sounds poetic, but is it real? Let's talk data. A Harvard study found that up to 90% of doctor visits in the US are linked to stress. Not because people are imagining things, but because stress rewires the nervous system. It inflames your gut, suppresses your immune system, throws off your hormones, and even changes how your genes behave. And yet, just 10 minutes of mindfulness a day has been shown to lower cortisol, reduce blood pressure, increase gray matter in the brain, specifically in areas that handle emotional regulation. So let me ask, if your thoughts can cause illness, could they also be part of the cure? In this video, we'll explore a truth that most people never hear. Your symptoms are not problems, they are messages. Your body is not broken, it's asking to be heard. Your healing doesn't require another routine, it needs a new relationship with your body. This isn't vague self-help talk. This is what I call sacred science, grounded in Buddhist wisdom, supported by neuroscience, and brought to life through real stories of transformation. Healing isn't about doing more. It's about being more present. So before we go further, take one full, gentle breath. Set down the pills, the schedules, the urgency, and just be here. Because somewhere deep within you, something ancient is already whispering. There's another way, and you're about to remember it. Years ago, a woman named Elise joined a retreat I was leading in Northern California. She was 67, a retired teacher, soft-spoken, gracious, smiling politely at every turn. But underneath that smile, she was exhausted. She had seen 5 doctors, tried 3 elimination diets, was taking 2 prescriptions. Her heart raced unpredictably. Her digestion was unstable. Her anxiety never fully lifted. Yet every medical test said, "You're perfectly healthy." On the second evening of the retreat, something changed. We didn't do yoga, we didn't journal, we didn't even meditate. We simply sat. No fixing, no guiding, just allowing. After about 20 minutes, her body began to tremble, not from fear, but from release. Then came the tears, not new ones. "Old ones, I never got to grieve my brother," she whispered. "He died when I was 12. I had to be strong for my parents." So I stayed silent, and in that moment, she finally gave herself permission to feel what had been buried for decades. In the weeks that followed, her body began to shift. Her heart found a steady rhythm. Her appetite returned. Her jaw, once clenched tight, relaxed. Not because of a new supplement, not because of a secret formula, but because, for the first time in years, her body was being listened to. Part 1, your nervous system isn't broken, it's remembering. Most people are taught that the body is like a machine, something to push harder, fix quickly, control constantly. But the truth is, your nervous system isn't mechanical. It's a living memory, and just like any story, if it doesn't get told, it gets stuck. Let's clarify something that's often misunderstood. Trauma isn't just what happened to you. Trauma is what didn't get to move through you. It's not the car crash. It's how you still jump at sudden noises. It's not the argument. It's how your chest tightens when someone raises their voice. It's not the breakup. It's how your stomach knots when their name pops up. Trauma isn't about the past event. It's about how your body still holds it today. As Dr. Peter Levine said, trauma is a fact of life. But healing is a possibility. You're not broken. You're wired to survive. Your brain has one job: keep you alive. So when it senses danger, even emotional danger, it reacts fast. The tricky part? It doesn't need a tiger to sound the alarm. It just needs a memory that feels unsafe. Your nervous system doesn't always know the difference between what's happening and what feels like what happened before. So if your heart races, hands sweat, or body freezes, it's not sabotage, it's protection. But sometimes that protection is for a threat that's long gone. There's a silent loop many people live in. When something emotional happens, fear, shame, anger. To your body responds tight chest, shallow breath, tense muscles. 3. You push it down because you have to get through the day. For your body stores that energy. 5. That stored energy becomes your new normal. Until one day you say, "That's just how I am." But it's not you. It's an unfinished story in your body pretending to be personality. Your body doesn't use words. It speaks through a lump in your throat, numbness in your legs, pressure in your chest, cold hands, tight hips, a stomach that flips for no reason. These aren't random symptoms. They're messages from the part of you that still remembers what you don't feel emotionally. You will express physically. In Buddhism, suffering doesn't come from pain. Pain is natural, it comes and goes. Suffering comes from clinging to past moments, past identities, past versions of who we thought we had to be. When we suppress emotion, we try to pause time. But your body doesn't pause, it loops. It will keep repeating the emotion. Like a child pulling at your sleeve, whispering, "Please feel me, please let me go." At a recent retreat, a man named Carlos shared something heartbreaking. He'd had shortness of breath for 7 years. He'd seen top specialists, wore heart monitors, thought about early retirement, but no one could explain why. Every scan was normal. Then one day, during a breathwork session, he paused mid-breath and broke down sobbing. Quiet, full-body sobs. Later he said, "When I was 16, my brother drowned. I couldn't save him, I didn't even scream, I just held my breath, and I never let it go." 7 years of testing, one moment of truth, and something shifted. In the months that followed, Carlos said quietly, "For the first time in years, I can breathe all the way down. He didn't fix his body. He let it finish the story. Healing isn't about erasing the memory. It's about discharging the energy that never got released. That's what Buddhist monks do when they sit in stillness with pain. That's what trauma-informed therapists do when they let someone cry, tremble or shake without stopping them. That's what your body wants to do every time it tightens. Finish the loop. So next time your body trembles, shuts down, or starts to sweat, don't ask what's wrong with me. Instead ask, what unfinished story is my body trying to tell me? Then pause, breathe, and listen. Because your body isn't breaking down, it's waiting for you to come home. Part 2, why softness is stronger than you think. You've been told your whole life to be strong, to keep your head high, to get over it, to stay positive, stay productive, stay composed. But here's a truth no one talks about. What we call strength is often emotional armor, and what we call weakness is actually the gateway to freedom. From a young age, you were probably praised for staying calm, for not crying in public, for being mature for your age, for holding it together when others couldn't. But nobody explained this part. Emotions aren't flaws. They're biological processes meant to move through you. When you block them, they don't disappear, they sink into your body. Uncried grief becomes exhaustion. Unspoken anger turns into jaw pain or migraines. Unacknowledged fear disturbs your breath and gut. Buried shame drains your posture and your energy. Your body keeps the score, even if your mind says, I'm over it. In Buddhist teachings, the body is like a river, always moving, always changing. Flow is health. Stagnation is suffering. But trauma builds dams. It says, don't cry. Don't feel that right now. Don't fall apart. Be strong. So the river stops. The emotions get stuck, and stuck emotions start to hurt. As a Zen proverb reminds us, pain is not the enemy. Resistance to pain is. Healing doesn't mean becoming harder. It means becoming softer like water. Try this. Clench your fist tight. Now use your other hand to pry each finger open. Hard, right? Now just let your hand relax. That's healing, not pushing. Not forcing, releasing. We don't heal by fighting harder. We heal by listening to the pain we once ignored. Your nervous system isn't convinced by logic. It's not calmed by being told you're fine. It needs to feel safe. That's how it decides it can let go. According to polyvagal theory, your body only comes out of protection mode when 3 things are present. 1, a safe environment. 2, a calm, empathetic presence. 3, permission to feel without judgment. When these things align, something profound happens. Your body chooses to release, not because you forced it, but because it finally feels held. Dana had tried everything for her insomnia. Melatonin, meditation, diet changes, therapy, but still 10 years without real sleep. During our first session, I asked, when was the last time your body felt truly safe? She blinked. Tears filled her eyes. When I was 10, she whispered. Lying next to my grandma, just listening to her breathe. That simple memory, warm, quiet, safe, became her nightly ritual. Not to fix anything, but to remind her body, you're safe now. 2 weeks later, Dana slept through the night. For the first time in a decade, she didn't fix her sleep. She let her body feel held again. In our culture, we're obsessed with doing, solving, optimizing, but healing doesn't happen in the hustle. It happens in the pause, in the quiet moment when you ask, what have I never let myself feel? That's when the river starts moving again. That's when the armor begins to melt. That's when healing begins, not with effort, but with presence. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, don't clench harder, don't swallow it down, don't fake a smile. Instead, sit quietly, feel what's there. Let the tears fall, because those tears, they're not weakness. They're your body's way of saying, I'm ready to flow again. Part 3, the sacred science of feeling safe again. There's a quiet shift barely visible to the eye. It happens not in grand moments, but in still ones, when your body finally moves from bracing to breathing, from guarding to softening. That is the doorway to healing. But here's the key. The door only opens when your body feels truly, deeply safe. We're taught to think of safety in practical terms, no physical danger, no one yelling, no visible threat. But trauma teaches a deeper lesson. You can look safe on the outside and still feel like you're in danger on the inside. Because safety isn't logical, it's sensory. It's not about what's happening around you. It's about what your nervous system remembers. And if your body still feels like it's in the middle of a past storm, no amount of reasoning can bring you peace. That's why just think positive doesn't work. Because the wound isn't in your mind. It lives in your body. In Buddhism, the breath isn't just a technique. It's a bridge between your inner and outer world, a pathway home. When you focus on your breath, you anchor to the now, you silence the sirens. You return to your body with kindness. Thich nh letter 1ea 5t h letter 1ea 1nh wrote, "Inhale, I arrive. Exhale, I am home, even when the world outside feels overwhelming." Your breath can become your shelter. Modern neuroscience describes something called the window of tolerance. It's the zone where your nervous system can handle stress without panic or collapse. When you're in this window, you feel focused, calm, connected. But trauma makes that window smaller, and suddenly, a loud sound makes you jump. Eye contact feels threatening. A text from your boss makes your chest tighten. Your body isn't overreacting. It's doing exactly what it was trained to do: survive. The goal of healing isn't to eliminate stress. It's to gently expand that window so your body remembers. I don't have to live in defense mode anymore. Malik, a combat veteran, came to me with one request. I want to hug my daughter again without flinching. He hadn't hugged anyone in 6 years, not because he didn't love them, but because his body recoiled at touch, even gentle ones. We didn't begin with hugs. We began with breathing, holding warm tea, using a weighted blanket, feeling the texture of fabric on his skin, tiny steps. Gentle reintroductions, and then one afternoon, he let his daughter lean on his shoulder. He broke into tears, not from pain, but from returning. "I forgot I could feel this and still be safe," he whispered. That moment wasn't just emotional, it was physiological. His body had relearned something ancient. Connection is not a threat, it's home. When you feel unsafe for too long, your biology shifts, memory centers shrink. Inflammation increases, hormones go out of sync, the immune system weakens. But when you feel safe, truly safe, digestion improves, sleep deepens, immunity strengthens, even your genes start leaning toward healing. Safety isn't a soft concept. It's a biological requirement for repair, not solutions, not strategies, just permission. Permission to cry, permission to shake, permission to feel, permission to stop pretending you're okay. You don't need to be more productive. You need to be more honest with yourself. That's what Buddhist monks cultivate in silence. That's what trauma-informed healers create through presence. And that's what your aching shoulders, shallow breath, and tight jaw are silently begging for. Can I just be me without holding it all in? Yes, you can. And that moment when the armor falls might be where your healing begins. Tonight, before you sleep, try this. Sit quietly. Close your eyes. Put a hand on your heart. Whisper softly, "Right now in this breath, I am safe." You don't need to believe it, just begin to feel it. Because healing isn't about avoiding pain. It's about feeling safely what you once had to survive silently, like water melting ice, like your nervous system finally exhaling. Softness isn't weakness. It's the most sacred science of all. Part 4, Presence is the medicine your body has been waiting for. There's something quietly miraculous that happens. Not when you fix yourself, not when you achieve more, but simply when you arrive. Arrive where? Right here, right now. In this exact body, in this exact breath. Healing doesn't wait for your future self. It begins when the real you shows up. And that place where you stop running, stop fixing, and just be. That's where your body has been waiting for you all along. Your mind is a time traveler. It replays what you said yesterday. It worries about what might happen tomorrow. It edits past conversations. It tries to outthink the future. But your body, it can't time travel. It only lives now. Your heartbeat, your breath, your skin, they only know this moment. So what happens when your mind is spinning in the past or future? But your body is anchored to the present. You create internal friction. And over time, that friction shows up as stress, fatigue, even illness. Your body isn't confused. Your body is asking your mind, will you please join me here? In Zen Buddhism, there's a simple teaching. When walking, just walk. When sitting, just sit. Above all, don't wobble. This doesn't mean be robotic. It means be real. If you're eating, eat slowly. If you're grieving, let yourself cry. If you're tired, rest without guilt. It's not our emotions that hurt us. It's the resistance to feeling them. It's the constant mental escape that creates disconnection. As Thich NH letter 1EA5T H letter 1EA1NH wrote, you are only alive in the present moment. And that is the only moment you can touch life. Let's be honest. Most of us live in a constant state of micro-abandonment. You open your phone to check one thing and scroll for an hour. You eat lunch while reading emails. You talk to someone while mentally rewriting your to-do list. This doesn't mean you're failing. It means you've been trained by a culture that profits from your disconnection. But healing begins the moment you say, I'm done leaving myself. Not in dramatic ways, but in the quiet moments, choosing to stay present instead of numbing out, choosing to breathe instead of bracing. Presence is not just sitting still. Presence is a fierce, loving commitment to feel what's real without running away. When you practice presence, if grief rises, you stay with it. If fear flutters, you breathe through it. If numbness shows up, you notice it gently. Presence doesn't guarantee comfort, but it does create healing. Because as somatic wisdom says, what you can feel fully, you can heal completely. Rachel was a top-tier attorney, sharp, busy, always in motion. She came to a mindfulness retreat mostly out of curiosity. 10 minutes into her first meditation, she opened her eyes and whispered, I hate this. I feel like I can't breathe. Later, I asked her gently, what does stillness remind you of? Tears welled up in her eyes. When I was little, silence meant something bad was about to happen. Someone was going to yell, or hit, or disappear. For Rachel, stillness didn't equal peace. Stillness equaled danger. So she survived by staying busy. We didn't force her into silence. We helped her befriend it, first through music, then through mindful walking, then through breath. On the 5th day, she said, I sat in silence for 20 minutes, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel afraid. That wasn't about meditation. It was about reclaiming safety in her own body. Neuroscience backs this deeply. Mindfulness grows gray matter in the decision-making part of the brain, shrinks the amygdala, your fear center, calms inflammation, strengthens the immune system, improves sleep, mood, and digestion. But the data alone doesn't capture the full truth. Presence isn't just rewiring your brain. It's remembering your soul, remembering that you were never meant to hustle for worth, that your breath is enough, that this moment is sacred because you're in it. Right now, try this. Place your hand over your heart. Close your eyes. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Whisper gently, I am allowed to be here. Just as I am, stay with the breath. Notice what softens. Notice what returns. Because presence is not something you do. It's something you remember. It's the home your body has always known and missed. Part 5, the forgotten art of befriending your body. When most people think of healing, they think of effort, discipline, routines, fixes. What's the right supplement? Which routine will fix me? How do I control my symptoms? But what if healing doesn't begin with control? What if it begins with something softer? Something far more radical, kindness. Let's be honest for a moment. Many of us live in a silent war with our bodies. We criticize the way we look. We feel ashamed of fatigue. We treat pain like failure. We treat aging like betrayal. We look in the mirror and sigh. We push through exhaustion with caffeine and willpower. We ignore what hurts because we don't have time. But here's the truth. You can't heal something you don't trust. You can't restore something you're resenting. The body doesn't need your judgment, it needs your presence. In Buddhism, the body is not something to escape. It's something to come home to. Your body is your first teacher, they say. The breath, the aches, the discomfort, they are not flaws. They are doors to awareness. Even pain can carry wisdom. Even tension can reveal truth. Even stillness can show you where you're holding on too tightly. The body isn't in your way. It is the way. Here's what neuroscience shows us. A gentle hand on the heart lowers cortisol. Speaking kindly to yourself activates the vagus nerve. Self-compassion reduces inflammation. Loving awareness can rewire emotional memory. Try this, especially when you're overwhelmed. Place one hand on your chest. Place the other on your belly. Close your eyes and say softly, "I'm here, I hear you, you don't have to do this alone." It sounds simple, but your nervous system hears everything, and that tenderness, it matters. Claire was a professional dancer, poised, graceful, always in control. On the outside, she was elegance embodied. On the inside, she was at war with her body. Years of silent pressure, be smaller, be quieter, be perfect. And every time she felt emotion, her instinct was to restrict, suppress, shrink. When she came to a retreat, she said, "I don't trust my body, it brings up too much," instead of giving her advice. We did one thing, we got curious. Every time she noticed pain, she asked, "What are you trying to show me?" And slowly her body spoke back, "I'm grieving, I'm lonely. I'm holding a memory from when I was 7. And one afternoon, curled on the floor, holding her own knees, she whispered, I'm sorry I abandoned you." That was her moment, not a supplement, not a breakthrough, but a quiet reunion with herself. You don't need to love your thighs, you don't need to erase your wrinkles, you don't need to feel confident every day. But you do need to ask, what are you trying to say, shoulders? What do you need, gut? What haven't I let myself feel, chest? Healing isn't about perfection, it's about partnership. Your body isn't your employee, it's not your project, it's not something to micromanage, it's your oldest friend. And it's asking, can we please reconnect? Every morning before the world pulls you away. 1, sit quietly for 2 minutes. 2, place your hand somewhere that feels tense. 3, ask, what do you need today? 4, breathe and just listen. 5, say, thank you for staying with me this long. You'll be surprised at what you hear. You'll be humbled by how your body responds, not to force, but to friendship. So the next time you feel tired, heavy, or off, don't criticize, don't analyze, don't abandon, just stay, breathe, touch your chest. And say, you're not a problem, you're a person, I'm here, I've got you now. That's where healing begins. Not in effort, but in empathy. Not in discipline, but in devotion. Because your body isn't broken, it's brilliant. It remembers everything, and it's been waiting for you to finally listen. Part 6, the nervous system is not your enemy, it's your compass. We've been taught that the nervous system is something to overpower, push through the panic, ignore the tension, conquer the fear, mind over matter. But what if your body wasn't breaking down? It was speaking up. What if your nervous system isn't your enemy? It's your most loyal guide. Let's reframe something, that racing heart. that lump in your throat, that trembling in your hands. They're not signs of failure. They're signs of a body that remembers how to survive. Your nervous system developed across millions of years. It knows how to detect threat even before you do, and sometimes it overresponds. Not because it's broken, but because something inside you never got the signal. You're safe now. In Buddhist teachings, pain is not avoided, it's welcomed with awareness. The problem isn't what you feel, it's the fight against what you feel. To resist what is to double the suffering. Your body shakes, that's energy discharging. You cry, that's nervous system regulation. You go still, that's your body reclaiming peace. Healing doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop fighting every feeling. According to Dr. Stephen Porges, the nervous system is constantly scanning. Am I safe? Am I welcome? Do I belong here? This theory, the polyvagal theory, reshaped our understanding of trauma. It teaches that healing doesn't come from removing stress. It comes from restoring connection. That's why a warm hug calms you faster than a prescription. A soft voice grounds you deeper than positive affirmations. Gentle eye contact can rewire years of isolation. Your nervous system doesn't just want silence. It wants safety inside the silence. Jacob was a high-performing CEO, constantly on, always moving. But when he finally tried to rest, his body panicked. Yoga gave him chest tightness. Meditation made him feel trapped. Stillness reminded him of something terrifying. Nights as a boy, hiding in silence, waiting for the yelling to begin. So instead of forcing calm, we met him where he was, gentle stretching, soft music, holding a warm mug, relearning that stillness doesn't mean danger anymore. Months later, he said this after a quiet weekend off. I'm not afraid of rest anymore. And for the first time in my life, that feels like peace. You don't need to perform healing. You don't need to become some perfect version of calm. You need to partner with your body. You need to stop asking, how do I fix this? And start asking, what memory is this tension carrying? What fear lives in this tight breath? What emotion is buried under this numbness? Your body isn't a problem. It's a compass pointing toward what needs your presence. Next time your anxiety rises, 1, don't resist it. 2, place a hand on your heart. 3, name what's happening softly. I feel scared. I feel tension. I feel like I'm bracing for something. 4, say out loud, I see you. I know you're trying to keep me safe. I'm here now, and we're okay. This isn't self-talk fluff. This is neural rewiring through compassion. Your body hears you. And it wants to trust you again. You don't need to be zen all the time. You don't need to never feel fear again. You just need to feel safe enough. To stay present, even when emotions rise. Because healing doesn't mean your nervous system is quiet. It means it no longer needs to scream to get your attention. So the next time you tense up, pause, don't suppress, don't perform, just breathe. And whisper, you're not a flaw. You're my guide, thank you for protecting me. That's how we heal, not by overriding the body, but by finally learning its language. Part 7, you were never broken, you were always becoming. Take a breath. A real one, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Let the shoulders drop, let the tension soften. You're here, you made it this far, and that alone is a miracle. The world told you healing was a finish line. Some magical place where pain disappears, where you never feel fear again, where you become someone better. But that's not healing. That's perfectionism dressed in spiritual clothes. Real healing is not a destination. It's a relationship with your body, with your breath, with the parts of you you tried to hide, and like any real relationship, it asks for gentleness. It grows slowly. It needs presence, not pressure. Buddhism teaches that the self is not a fixed thing. It's a river, not a rock, always shifting, always becoming. So healing isn't about fixing you. It's about sitting by the river and noticing what flows by. You don't have to force it. You don't have to improve to be worthy. You are not here to conquer yourself. You are here to know yourself. You do not have to be good. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. To Mary Oliver, to the tired part of you, to the part that still flinches, to the part that says, maybe I'm too much or maybe I missed my chance. Let me speak directly. You don't need to hustle for healing. You don't need to earn rest. You don't need another fix, another plan, another way to be better. You need permission to pause, to feel, to be. Because your softness is not the problem, it's the way through. The science is clear. Your brain can rewire itself, neuroplasticity. Your nervous system can learn to trust again. Your body can shift from defense to safety with time, care, and presence. You can begin again. At 33, at 47, at 69, after heartbreak, after burnout, after decades of silence. Healing isn't linear. It's a spiral coming back to the same lessons each time with deeper love. Be gentle with your fatigue. Be curious about your emotions. Be honest about your grief. Be tender with your body. Be soft with your breath. You don't have to rush back to normal. You don't have to explain why it still hurts. Because healing is not becoming someone new. It's remembering the truth of who you already are. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Rumi. Let it crack you open. Let it shape you not into perfection, but into presence. So as this video ends, let a new chapter begin. Not a routine, not a goal, but a return to your breath, to your heartbeat, to the small, sacred voice inside that has never left. Beneath all the fear, all the fatigue, all the fixing, there is something ancient in you that remembers the way home. And it's whispering, you were never broken, you were becoming. Welcome back.